everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 196. Andrew Eisen here. Okay, so let me read you the schedule I have written down for today's podcast, because the last couple of weeks, I didn't get to any of my written down stuffs, because I just chatted with the chat for multiple hours, foregoing my dinner. Hi, Suzanne. Happy weekend to you, too. Alright, so I would like to talk briefly about the Pokemon DLC snafu. I would like to talk about Baten Kaitos. I would like to talk about the Avengers, the Crystal Dynamics game that's launching this fall. And then Cyberpunk 2077, another game launching this fall. That's the plan. Maybe I'll stick to it. Maybe not. But those are the things I would like to at least talk about this evening. Alright. Are you ready? Are you ready? So, Pokemon. So, Nintendo, as it is wont to do, and Pokemon Company, of course, they released a new Pokemon game, but a new Pokemon game is not enough. No. It has to be two very slightly different versions of the same game. Because they know that there's enough of us Pokemaniacs out there that will buy both, even though they are mostly the same game. There are differences. There absolutely are some differences, but they're mostly the same game. Well, never one to buck a trend. Nintendo's usually like a decade behind, but it usually does eventually glom onto the things that other companies are doing. And Nintendo said, hey, we might want to give this DLC thing a try. So Pokemans is getting some DLC. It has actually gotten some DLC. And you might think, oh, DLC for the Pokemans, that's nice. But Nintendo did a Nintendo, and each version of the game gets its own special DLC, you see. So I think it's Pokemon Sword and Shield. Sword has its own DLC. Shield has its own DLC. If you have Pokemon Sword and you buy the Shield DLC by mistake, it's not going to work, even though it's essentially the same DLC. It's the wrong DLC. And if you go to Nintendo's site, you will find a page that says, refund request for download game or DLC, parentheses, wrong game, didn't like the game, accidental purchase. And it says, quote, we are unable to provide refunds or exchanges for mistaken purchases. So that's that. But Nintendo, knowing that people will screw this up, put on Twitter, hey, yo, Poke fans, when purchasing the Pokemon Sword Expansion Pass or Pokemon Shield Expansion Pass, please ensure you select the one that corresponds with the version of the game you own. You know, because you'll just waste your money if you buy the wrong damn one, you silly little goobers. Well, silly little goobers were silly little goobers, and sometimes they bought the wrong damn one, especially if they bought the key through a third-party seller. So Nintendo updated that statement to include, if you mistakenly purchase the incorrect pass, please contact customer support. Now, I haven't seen anywhere, nor have I heard any anecdotal testimonial evidence that Nintendo is refunding. Hopefully, at the very least, they're just, removing the wrong DLC from your account and adding the right one. It seems like maybe something it could do. Or it could just have, one DLC that worked for both, since, again, they're pretty much the same game. Just saying. Didn't have to be this complicated, Nintendo. And there's two DLCs, you see. There's a season pass. There's DLC 1 and DLC 2, but DLC 1 and 2 only work for the right version of the game. If you get the wrong version of DLC 1 or DLC 2, it ain't going to work, and you're going to have to call customer support and hope Nintendo is feeling charitable, which, in my experience, Nintendo's has pretty good customer service, but, you know, just saying, if you didn't do this 2 games crap and you just had 1 game, wouldn't be a problem in the first place, Nintendo. You know? I know. I bet you do too. So, Pokemon. Jordan says, I started playing Pokemon Sword a week ago and am loving hoarding as many Pokemon as I can find. It's addicting. Pokemon Snap 2? No. New Pokemon Snap? Is that what they're calling it? Which is kind of dumb. Oh well. Hey, you know what you get if you combine Pokemon Snap with Hey You Pikachu? Pokemon Snapchat. Yeah? No? No? Okay, I tried. Pokemon Tencent. Yeah. Someday. So, yeah, I'm personally not a huge fan of the Pokemon multiple versions thing, and then so I was certainly less than happy. Again, it's not a franchise I play, so I guess it's because the only good Pokemon game is Pokemon Snap. So I'm happy that we're getting a new one. Maybe I'll rent it from Blockbuster Video and... Oh. I probably still have my Blockbuster Video card somewhere. It's laminated, so I'm sure it's in wonderful condition still. It could possibly still be in my wallet. Now I've since obtained a new wallet, so probably not. Hopefully not. That would be just silly. Anyway, so be careful buying your Pokemons. You might buy the wrong Pokemons and then not be able to play your Pokemons and have to buy the other one again. Or spend more money on a different one. Of course, Nintendo might say, oh, you have Pokemon Sword, but you bought the Shield expansion. I see. So what you're going to want to do is give us more money to get the Sword expansion. And you say, well, what do I do with the Shield expansion? Good question. Glad you asked. What you're going to want to do is buy Pokemon Shield so that you can use the Shield expansion that you mistakenly purchased. Ha-ha! Ha-ha-ha! Ha-ha-ha! So let's talk Baten Kaitos. It's a video game. It came out for the GameCube back in 2004-ish, somewhere around there. Jordan says, I made sure to wishlist the Sword expansion so I wouldn't make the mistake. Yeah, I'm sure that the game's menu will link to the eShop and take you right to the appropriate spot. And I imagine most people with the game would probably access the new content that way. It's likely, and from what I've read, most of the issues come from people who are buying keys for the expansions from a third-party seller and then just accidentally getting the wrong one. Either because Sword and Shield are both one-syllable words that start with S and end in D, and have vowels in between, or the key seller or the third party made a mistake. Who knows? Anyway, Baten Kaitos. It's an RPG with a card battle system. So, one of the neat things about the game is the cards are not just for battling; they're for pretty much everything. So you have a deck of cards. Well, you have a repository of cards, and then you build a fighting deck. And you go into battle, and it draws you random cards out of your deck, and you play them. You play your attack cards, you play your defense cards. There's healing cards, all kinds of cool stuff. You can get into situations where you just get dealt a bad hand, like you have all attack cards, and someone tries to hit you in the head, and you have no defense cards, so you just take it in the face. That can happen. Sucks. The reverse is true. It could be your turn to attack, and you have all defense cards. It's like poop. Or it could happen where all of you're dying, but all of your health cards got shuffled to the bottom of the deck, and you die before you get down there. That can happen too. Luck of the draw, luck of the draw. But there's also some really interesting things in this game in that you have blank cards and you can capture the essence of things in the world in the card. So you could find like a bowl of fruit, and it's like, I could capture the essence of apple! And now you have an apple card. And that's a healing card, so you play the apple card and you get 200 hit points restored. But, now here's the twist. Cards change after a while, so your apple card after a few hours, few real-world hours, might change to the rotten food card. And now instead of a healing card, it's an attack card, and it can poison the enemy. Ooh, neat, huh? There are also interesting things like where you play cards in specific combinations can create a new card. For example, I don't think this actually happens in the game, but just to give you an idea, play apple, and then play the fireball spell, and that will cook the apple, and you will get a new card called Baked Apple, which is an even better healing card. So a lot of really neat things like that. Great game, really like it. It's got probably one of the worst aesthetic senses of design I've ever seen in any video game ever, but it's so obnoxiously bad that it's actually kind of charming. I've been playing this game for 15 years. Jordan says, but Andrew, you have to have your heart in the cards. Yeah. I've been playing this game for 15 years. So I first started playing it like 2004. 2004 or 5, somewhere in there. And I got to a point about 30 hours into the game, actually probably not even that far, about 25 hours into the game or so, where you get to a point where there's like multiple waves of bad guys, and each wave has the possibility of getting you a new card. And this is the only place in the game you can get some of these cards, so if you want all the cards, you have to play that section absolutely perfectly. I had trouble doing that. And then so I put it down, played another game, and it was like 5 years before I got back to it. I finally got past it that second time back in 2010 or whenever I picked it up again, and didn't get very far. Played only like an hour or two, got to the next area, and then just said, good, finally got past it, hooray, huzzah. And then I got distracted by the latest shiny thing, and I forgot to play it. And then 2015 or so rolls around. I'm like, I should pull out Baten Kaitos again. Played it some more, got a bit further, and then again got distracted by something shiny. Well, here we are in 2020, and I picked up the game and I said, gall darn it to heck. I'm gonna beat this damn game this time. I've been playing it for 15 years. I swear I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat Baten Kaitos this time. So, I played it for about 2 hours. This was several weeks ago. And then I got to a boss battle, which is quite possibly the worst boss battle in the history of video games. Oh yes, it is that bad. So, let me set the stage for you. It's your active party in battles is 3 people. You have a party of 6 people, but you can only have 3 people fighting at once. In this boss battle, you are fighting the 3 main enemies of the game. Giacomo, Anya, and Frank. And these are powerful dudes. These are the end game baddies. And so it's a 3-on-3 fight, which sounds pretty fair. Now, each turn, at this point in the game, you can play like 5, sometimes 6 cards in a row. So you can get a nice attack. If your hand is good, you can get a nice. Trying to think of the name of the game. It's crossword? No, not upwards. Scrabble. Scrabble's the game. You know Scrabble, where you just have a bunch of letter tiles, and if you have the right tiles, you can play all of them and get like triple word score and just make a lot of points. Same thing here. If you have the right cards, you can play like 5, maybe 6 of them and hit its weak point for massive damage. Of course, sometimes you don't have the right cards. My point is, your 3 characters each get a turn. They can play 5 or 6 cards. It's good. The bad guys, of which there are 3, get about 9 cards to play per turn. Yeah, it's a little obnoxious. It's also exacerbated by the fact that Giacomo, the guy in the middle, the big bad, he's got this really slow animation where he rises up off the floor and then floats over to you and then settles down and then smack, 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 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really ultra huge attack! Boom! And then he floats back up, and then he sidles back, and then he floats back to... Oh god, it takes forever for him to finish! That's what she said. So that's annoying. So the 3 characters, they get way more attacks than you. They take a really long time to go through them. They also get 2 turns each. So it feels like you never get a turn. It feels unfair. They get more attacks, and they each get 2 turns per round. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. Also, here's an interesting thing. When you run out of cards in your deck, you have to spend a turn reshuffling your deck. So, once you've exhausted all the cards in your deck, you essentially lose a turn before you can begin again. That goes for the enemies too, so that's fair. Ooh, look at my hair stick up in the back. Goodness. Damn ninja cows sneaking into my room at night and licking my hair. Stealthy heifers. Jordan says, in Mother Russia, Baten Kaitos beats you. Here's the thing that's not fair, though. The bad guys, unlike you, never get a bad hand. Ever. Ever. At no point do the bad guys ever go, well, poop, I only have defense cards in my hand. I can't attack this turn. That never happens to them. Oh, but it happens to you. Oh, yeah. That happens to you, especially if you have generally bad crap luck like I do. I've got notoriously horrible luck when it comes to games of chance. And sometimes in this game, fun as it is, pretty well balanced, but oh man, sometimes you can just get a bad shuffle or a bad deal in your hand and it's like, I have nothing to play. When you're fighting regular enemies, that's usually not a problem. But when you're in a boss fight, that can kill you dead. So this encounter with these 3 takes forever. It is a really, really, really long fight. It takes literally about 40-45 minutes. If you are ever on your back foot during that fight, you're going to lose. But it's probably going to take you a while to lose. Like, failing that fight takes like half an hour. So, I played that fight and I lost. Luckily, the game doesn't restart you at the last checkpoint or save. It lets you just restart the battle immediately. It allows you to reorganize your party or reshuffle your decks or put different cards in your deck if you want to. So that's good. So it took me 2 more tries, but I I beat them. I got it. Took 3 tries. That was probably a solid 2 hours of my day right there just on that boss fight. And it sucked the entire time because it feels unfair. It just feels unfair. It's also really damn long. So, worst boss fight in the world. In the history of video games, that's it. I found it. Comment in the chat as which boss fights you think are the worst. 20 hours later, approaching endgame, I looked in a walkthrough just to see how much more there was, and I'm pretty close to the end of the game. It's probably like maybe another 8 hours. Those 3 aren't dead. You have to fight them again. Same boss fight. Same boss fight. Same exact boss fight. Same 3 characters. Same setup. Same rules. They get 2 turns each. They both have 9 attacks or so per turn. And they never get a bad hand. They never have a turn where they're like, well, crap, I have nothing to play. Poopy. So you have to play that fight again. I lost my first try. Got it on my second try. And then you sit through 10 some odd minutes of cutscene. And then you have to do that exact same boss fight again. And I lost. Luckily, when you retry it, you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. It just you get to start at the beginning of the second instance of that fight. Tried it a second time. Lost again. And again, it takes about half an hour to lose. These are long, drawn-out fights. Tried it a third time. It's about 2:30 in the morning now. I have to work in the morning. I don't want to play this anymore. I just want to go to sleep. But I can't stop now because it doesn't save the game between the 2 instances of that fight. So if I give up now, I'm going to have to start over, sit through the cutscene, play the first round, sit through the 10 minutes or so of another cutscene, and then try to get through the second round. I don't want to do that. I lose the fight again a third time. It's about 3:30 in the morning now. I decide to turn it off. And I was going to complain about that last week, but we talked about other stuff last week. So I took a week off and I started playing some other smaller indie games and stuff just to... I didn't want to like put on Shadow of the Tomb Raider or something I'm going to get really invested in and play for a few weeks. No, just some small couple-hour experiences. Played DLC Quest, which was cute. Played A Mortician's Tale, which is not really a game, but it's an interesting little... visual novel more kind of thing. It's not too bad. It's about an hour. Played The Gardens Between or something. What's the name of this game? Let me look. Is it The Gardens Between? The Gardens Between. I was right. Which was 2 maybe 3 hours. Also an interesting little puzzle game. So today, I thought I really want to finish Baten Kaitos. So, alright, I'm going to spend the afternoon, I'm going to get through this damn boss fight. We're pretty close to the end of the game. So turned it on. Got through the cutscene, played the first encounter, and lost. I failed again. So I tried it again. Lost again. Tried it a third time, and about 20 minutes or so into the fight, one of my characters died, which is absolutely certain that I'm not going to make it. It's going to take another 10 minutes or so at least for the characters to beat me to death so I can lose. But I realized at this point, I've spent probably a total of 5 hours on this encounter. I don't want to play it anymore. I'm not having fun. In fact, I'm starting to despise this game. So, I shut it off. I ejected the disc, put it back in its case, and put it on the shelf with the rest of my played GameCube games. For 15 years, it's been sitting on my shelf of unplayed games, or played but not completed games. I give up. I will never beat Baten Kaitos. I don't want to play this damn boss fight anymore. I mean, I'd get it eventually. It really just comes down to, eventually you're going to have decent enough hands that you can do it. But if you get screwed on the shuffle, you're screwed on the shuffle. Once you get on the back foot, you kind of have to just wait for healing items to come up, and then you spend your entire time just trying to stay alive, and you don't do any damage. And that's why these fights take so long. Even if you have a decent hand, these fights are like 30-40 minutes at least. It is a long fight. And then there's a 10-minute cutscene, and then you have to do the fight again. It's boring. I don't want to do it. So how far from the end of the game I am? Well, according to a walkthrough, there's like, you can finish up a bunch of side quests, you do a little bit of world hopping just to touch base with pretty much everyone you ever met. There's one new area, one new dungeon. Then there's a bit of a boss rush at the end, and then a final boss, and that's it. So probably 8, maybe 10 hours left of the game, but unless I watch a playthrough or something, I will never see it. Because I'm done. And that's sad for a game I've been playing for 15 years, but that boss fight just sucks. I don't want to play it anymore. Luckily, Baten Kaitos Origins, the sequel, is a prequel. So the events of the end of the game probably have no bearing on the plot of the prequel. I'm not going to play it immediately. I'll probably not even this year, but eventually when I get around to playing Baten Kaitos Origins, not having finished the first one probably won't affect it too bad, so that's nice. So let's see what the chat... Oh, hello, Chaos. Colin, hi, says, Sup, Andrew, have you heard of Static X? No? Band, I think? They are an industrial metal... Oh, yeah, the band. They're an industrial metal band whose first album got platinum. The album was called Wisconsin Death Trip. That's a great name. I recommend you check them out. Alright. Nicholas says, sounds like fighting a blue deck in Magic the Gathering. Chaos says, love Static X. Doubt Andrew would like them. Not a metal guy, so probably not. It's fairly low odds that I would like them, but, you know, if I remember, I'll see if they have any videos on YouTube that I can check out. Jordan says, Andrew, you mean to say an AI has a better draw chance than a human? Don't say it so. Yeah, it feels like they're cheating. Because, again, a lot of times, luck of the draw, I draw a bunch of cards and it's like, oh man, it's my turn, but I just don't happen to have any attack cards in my hand. I got plenty in my deck, I just don't have anything I can play, so I have lost one of my turns. And the bad guy gets 2 turns per round, so that's unfortunate. You know, if that actually happened to the bad guys, like they could only do 2 attacks or no attacks because they didn't have the right cards, that would make it feel a bit more fair. Maybe it would completely unbalance the game. I don't know. Chaos says, optional boss fight on Digital Devil Saga 1 will instant kill you if you have anything equipped to give you an advantage. Wow. See, I forget which Final Fantasy game it is, but there's one boss fight that was particularly annoying, and I don't remember why. I just remember it was like a really, really lengthy damn fight that had a gimmick that once you figure it out, the fight's fine, but I don't... If there was... I don't remember what game it is or what the gimmick was or why the fight was long and annoying, but yeah, too long ago. It's probably like Final Fantasy, North American Final Fantasy 3, so Japanese 6, maybe that one. I don't know. Jordan says, game devs, haha, you used to have a life before this boss fight. Yeah, I can't stand this. It's like, dude, I gotta go to school today, you know? It's 3:30 in the morning. Give me a checkpoint, man. I gotta shut this thing off and go to bed. Jordan says, ain't nothing more painful than waiting for the inevitable. Yeah, it would be better if there were a restart fight option. If there is, I'm not aware of it. Because sometimes you're like, oh man, I'm not going to win this one. But then it's like another 20 minutes of the bad guy slowly beating your entire party to death. Oh, that sucks. Nicholas says, can you ever redraw sometimes? Or no, there's no redraw. The deck is shuffled and it just deals off the top. If you get bad cards, and you can't drop cards, you just have to play them and waste them. So there's no like you know in Tetris when you get a bad brick, some of the more modern Tetrises you bank the brick to use later. There's nothing like that. Maybe they do stuff like that in the sequel prequel in the next game. Don't know. Be interesting. There are some interesting things like. Instead of suits, there are elements. So there's water, fire, Chronos and wind, and dark and light. So if you play a dark and a light card, they'll cancel each other out. Same thing with fire and water and wind and Chronos. Also, each card is numbered, but a lot of the cards have multiple numbers on each of the corners. So you want to either play a straight, so play a 2 card and a 3 card, 4, 5, 6, like that, or play the same numbers, so pair, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, such. That will give you bonuses. So it's a fun game. It's got a lot of interesting strategy, but sometimes you can get screwed on the draw, and that can happen. It's part of the game. But in this particular boss fight, if you get enough bad hands, and you get on the back foot, there's just no recovering from it. Unless you like level grind, I guess you could do that. I don't know if the enemies scale, so I don't know if that's actually an option. But I don't want to. So Jordan says an 80-year-old Andrew croaks right before beating the last boss. Well, hope I live past 80. So anyway, that's without giving it any more thought, that's my least favorite boss battle of all time. Right up there with that damn foot on the moon in Snake Rattle and Roll. Because, I finally got... Because I got to the very last level of Snake Rattle and Roll, an NES game, way back in the day. That's a hard game. Mainly because the controls are weird. And there's a big foot stomping around the moon, and you have to lick it to death, because you're a snake, and all you can do is tongue that foot. That's right. Yeah. Tongue that foot. And yeah, if you snake's tongue is only so long, you can get little nibblies or pibblies or whatever they're called to extend the length of your tongue. But if you position wrong and that foot stomps you flat, you lose your tongue. And you got a real short tongue, which means you got to get up close, which makes it easier to get stomped flat. And I swear to God, as a kid playing that, I started to wonder, am I doing something wrong? This foot appears to be literally invincible. I've been tonguing this foot for 10 minutes, and it's not dead. No, it's not invincible. It's just very, very tough, and eventually it will explode and you'll win. That game is hard. That game's really hard. I dare say Snake Rattle and Roll is harder than Marble Madness, if anyone was wondering how I would compare it to Marble Madness. Probably only because Marble Madness is like, what, 4 levels long? Fairly short game, based on an arcade game, so that's why it was so damn short. Let's see. Jordan says, is it a crime I had more fun with NES Top Gun than I did with the movie? Okay, Top Gun's harder. I don't think I was I do not believe I was ever able to successfully land the damn plane in Top Gun. I played it at a friend's house. He didn't have the instruction manual, so I'm guessing I just didn't understand how to land the plane, but never was able to do it. He didn't know how to do it either. Top Gun. Never figured it out. Never figured out Jaws for the NES either. Like, could play it for a while, but couldn't figure out what you were supposed to do to actually win. Same thing with Friday the 13th, another game that you could survive for quite a long time, but it was just... what are we supposed to actually do to win? What do you do? It's just you eventually die. Oh, it has 8 levels? Huh. Yeah, I'm remembering that wrong then. Did I have Ghostbusters NEO? You bet I did. I had Ghostbusters on the Atari. Yes, I did, and I beat it. Trying to remember. The Atari game is actually better, I think, than the NES one. I also had the Ghostbusters 2 on the NES. Beat that one too, which is really hard because you have to play the final level, the museum level, 4 times. You have to one by one get each character all the way through the level. It's hard. And it's weird because that game mostly goes right to left instead of left to right. Weird choice. Don't know why it does it that way, but it does. Okay, so now let's talk The Avengers. Crystal Dynamics game, scheduled to come out sometime this fall. Crystal Dynamics had a little Nintendo Direct style let's look at the game thing this week. I watched it. I'm still not sold. I'll tell you, the whole we're going to continue to support this game with new characters and new levels, that gets red flags waving for me. Also, Casey Lynch, the executive director of publication or PR or something, who is narrating the thing, says at one point, and there's all these costumes and loot and with rarity. I'm like, oh god, is it Destiny? I hate Destiny and I hate games like that. Don't do that. And they said, and some costumes can only be purchased in our online store. And I'm like, yeah, I'm out. No thanks. No thanks. Tell you what, Crystal D. Finish the game. Make a complete game with all the content in the game. Sell that game, and if you sell it for a price I'm willing to pay, then I will buy it. How's that sound? But if you're releasing the game without all the content, and you're expecting me to pay full price for a game that's not finished yet, and I have to keep paying just to get costumes, no, that's not going to fly for me. Because you might claim, oh, it's only cosmetic. It's like, yes, and I really enjoy the cosmetics. It's a big part of what I enjoy about games like that, is dressing my characters in fun outfits. I'm not willing to pay a premium to do that. So, no. Also, aesthetically, I really don't like what you're doing with the game. It doesn't... I mean, it looks technically fine, but artistically, I don't like it. It looks like you really want to be an MCU game, but you couldn't get the likenesses, so it looks like you got all of the characters' stunt doubles. Like that scene in Spaceballs. You idiots, these are not them, you've captured their stunt doubles! You know, that's what it feels like, all the character designs, except Kamala Khan, who's awesome, because she hasn't been cast in the movies yet, so she can look like whatever you want, and she looks great. And I really love how she animates when she battles. Unfortunately, you focused on Thor, who looks really, really boring. Although I really did like the shirt with the Donald Blake name tag. That was cool. But man, that game just does not look very fun to play. I hope it is, because Avengers are cool. I like my superhero stuff, but man, you're not selling me on this game. I could make an hour-long... You know, I still have Disney Infinity 2.0 for the PS3 sitting right over there. I've never opened it or played it because the game looks absolutely horrible. One day I'll check it out and see if it's as bad as it looks. I hope it's great. I don't believe for a moment that it is. I bet it's absolutely bad because I don't like Toys to Life. To be fair, the two Spyro games I played were fine, but made measurably worse by the addition of Toys to Life. Because you're sitting there playing and then suddenly, oh, well, gotta put the controller down, gotta get up out of my chair, go find the right toy, put it on the pedestal of power, pick up my controller again and continue. I don't want to do that. Maybe it's because I'm old and lazy, but I don't want to do that. I don't know anyone who wants to do that. Maybe very young children want to do that. They must, because that was a fad for a while. The toys are cool, though. I like the design of the Skylanders, at least. They are neat. Games are alright. They'd be better without that portal of power horse poop, though. Which I like Crystal Dynamics. I think they did a nice job with the Tomb Raider stuff. I haven't played Shadow. Tomb Raider Rise Shadow, right? Yeah, Shadow's the third one. I haven't played Shadow yet. It's sitting on my shelf. So, I mean, they're a competent developer, technically competent, gameplay-wise. I like their stuff. But yeah, I've been seeing this Avengers game since, E3 of last year, and not feeling it. Hopefully it's a great game, it just doesn't show well. Comes out in a couple months, so we'll see. Last on my list here is Cyberpunk 2077, which is releasing a few decades early in 2020. So, no one's made that joke before. I actually did not realize that Cyberpunk was coming out this fall. I saw the news a week ago that Cyberpunk 2077 gets delayed again. And in my head I was thinking, oh, so it got pushed back from, 2022 to 2023 or something? And they're like, no, like from this September to this October or something like that. It's like, oh, it's coming out this year? Ah! Alright, cool. So, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game I'm kind of two minds about. It's a game that I like the world, and I'm excited to be able to wander around the world and see what's there and pop into all the restaurants and bars and other places and talk to the peoples. But I don't have any interest in actually playing the game. Like, all of the gameplay stuff, for some reason, is not speaking to me. And I'm not totally sure why. Looks good. Visually, I like the aesthetic. I like it. Maybe it's because the way they show off the gameplay, it just looks a little too first-person shootery, which I don't mind. I like first-person shooters, but that's not what I want to do in this game. I mean, it is a role-playing game of a sort, so hopefully it has the flexibility for me to play the game the way I want to play the game. The other thing I don't like is Jackie, I think his name is, who's like your companion character, who is just this trying to think of the right word to describe him. Insufferable, smug. I can't stand him. I want him to go away. I think he dies. They've shown that in a cutscene of him dying, so I don't know if that's just one thing that can happen or if it's just a plot point, but if it is a plot point, that's probably pretty early in the game, so even if he does annoy me, he probably wouldn't annoy me for very long. But yeah, it definitely looks like a world that I'd want to explore, but so far the game isn't anything I want to play. Although, a new thing they showed off this week with their own little Nintendo Direct style thingy bopper is brain dancing or something like that. It's essentially everyone has like a black box in them that's recording stuff. So when a person dies, you can hack into their little black box and relive their last moments. And kind of look around the environment and see who killed them and how they died, and maybe get clues that will help you. And that stuff I'm all about. I think that looks great. So that sequence really spoke to me. I've mentioned before I like the and I joked about this on Twitter about this incredibly expansive character creator that allows you to modify everything from your hair color to your genitalia, which is wonderful. Except it's a first-person game, so who cares? It's like, alright, I spent 4 hours making my custom character. I'm going to find every reflective surface in this game and stand in front of it just so I can admire my my custom character and how nifty they look. You'd think that a first-person game's character creator wouldn't go beyond like nail polish, because, you know, the hands are about all you see. Now, granted, there are cutscenes that are in the third person, and there are reflective surfaces, mirrors, and I'm sure bodies of water and stuff. And as someone on Twitter pointed out, the driving's in the third person, so if you're driving a bike or a convertible, yeah, you can see the back of your character's head, so that's nice. I forget where I read it, but someone who played the game mentioned that it's a bit of a shame that as much effort as you can put into your character creator, no one in the game world seems to care what you look like. No one ever comments on your character's appearance. And, I mean, if none of the characters are transfixed by my massive swinging dong, really, what's the point? So, Jordan says, yeah, I can't wait to play not Blade Runner. Jordan also said Lego Dimensions, which is another Toys to Life game. They locked off areas telling players they need certain packs or figures to unlock the... Yeah, that's consistent with all the Toys to Life games. In fact, I wrote IGN's guide for one of the Skylanders, and one of the pages I wrote was, how much does this game really cost? Like, how much money would you have to spend to actually access all of the content in the game? You know, play all of the levels. And it was something like well over $400 worth of toys that you would have to buy, because you'd have to have one character from every faction or element or whatever, and then you'd need a giant character, you'd need a character with the car, you'd need a character with the trap ability, so it ended up being $400 and some odd dollars. Jordan says, hope they have an extensive collection of gloves, rings, bracelets. Yeah, exactly, since your floating hands are most of what you see. And again, you will be able to see your character in cutscenes and stuff, but I do remember some other reviewer or impression person saying, yeah, I mean, I spent a bunch of time on my character creator, didn't really see much more in my character's hands for the first 4 hours of the game. So, probably not a game I'll get at launch. In fact, financial uncertainty is probably going to last for quite a while, but you know, kind of works out because while I could buy The Last of Us 2 or Cyberpunk when it comes out in the fall, or what are the other big games that are coming out roundabouts now? You know, the Resident Evil 3 remake, stuff like that. We are so close to the next generation that all of these games are probably going to have complete editions on the next generation of consoles. Kind of like they did for Last of Us 1. The PS4 came out, and The Last of Us Definitive Edition came out, which included the DLC and improved the graphics and frame rate. Well, heck! Why buy video games? Doom Eternal, there's another one. Why pick these games up now when all I have to do is wait half a year and I can pick up better, more complete versions of them later? I mean, if I'm already going to buy one of the next-gen consoles, maybe not at launch, but at some point I'm sure I will, I got plenty of games to keep me occupied in the meantime. I'm in no hurry. Unless I get hit by a truck or something and die, that would suck. Jordan says, I'd love to make a game with an extremely extensive character creator only to have your character die in the first few minutes of the story. That's kind of what they do in Metal Gear Solid 5. They actually have a character creator. And then you just play as Snake. Yes, there is a reason there's a character creator, but that's not apparent until way later. If you ever reach there, and you probably won't. I didn't, because you have to essentially play through the game again. Like, there's a Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and Chapter 2 is mostly the same stuff in Chapter 1. There is some new stuff, but it's mostly the same stuff, just harder. And I was like, nah, I'm good. So I never got to the point where the character creation actually mattered. And I spent a fair amount of time on that character, too. Looked really cool. Shame. Snake! So, hey, I actually got through the topics I wanted to discuss today. And did it within an hour, so I bought shrimp skewers, so that's what I'm going to have for dinner. Jordan says, why do they bother make games when cutscenes are long enough to be movies? I like cutscenes. As long as they don't get in the way of the game. Cutscenes can be great. But they can also be intrusive and boring. And yeah, there are video games where I play them and I think, it's clear to me that you really wanted to make a movie. So, why not do that? I've played games where it really comes across that they wanted to make a movie more than they did actually make a game. I didn't really get that sense from like The Last of Us. I've not played the sequel from the original Last of Us. I didn't get that sense. Very narrative-heavy game, but still felt like a game. And I never felt any of the cutscenes went on too long or got in the way of the actual gameplay. I'll tell you, playing Metal Gear, at least the first Solid and 5, nearly every time a cutscene came on, I did this. I never did that during The Last of Us, for example. Because typically you'd been playing the game for a while, and the cutscenes are interesting, and the characters are compelling, even if I don't particularly like any of them as people. That as an example of a narrative-heavy game that I think they've actually been trying to make a Last of Us movie, that worked for me. Uncharted is another one that's fairly... It's not exactly narrative-heavy, but it does have a lot of cutscenes in it. But, rarely did I ever feel in any of the Uncharted games that the game took over and said, okay, now you get to watch. Cutscenes should be a treat. They should be a reward. You should look forward to them. When a cutscene starts, you should be like, "Oh, cool, cutscene. All right, let's see what fun, groovy things they have to show us." You should never go, just let me play the game." And I know that threshold's going to be different for every gamer, but rule of thumb: if a good chunk of your playtesters are going every time the cutscene starts, probably have a few things to rethink. People give Abby so much crap for being buff. I think she's hot. That's just me. I don't know who that is. Colin says still not interested in high school DxD. If so, it's all right. Are you asking if I'm interested in it? Probably not. I think you brought that up before and I wasn't interested in it, so no, haven't. Oh, she's a character in The Last of Us 2? Okay. There's Ellie, there's her girlfriend. Oh, is she the woman hanging from a tree in one of the cutscenes they showed off a year or two ago? Cause yeah, that's a fit woman. Yeah, that's a body type I find attractive too. Colin says, I'm asking. Oh, okay, then no, I have no interest in high school DxD. I don't remember why, but I do remember you bringing it up before and me looking into it and thinking, that doesn't appear to be for me. And nothing has come up in the interim to convince me otherwise, so... Oof. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's not something that appealed to me, and I honestly don't remember why. Oh, hey, I'll read you guys my it's ecchi and fan service. Well, that's okay. There's some ecchi fan service stuff I like let me see what it's called. I forget. So, this I like. Agent Ica. That damn glare reflection thing. Come on. Stop it. There we go. Agent Ica. This is a 4-episode anime series built entirely around short skirts and what's under them. Which is gross, sure. Very pervy, yes. But so absurdly over the top that I genuinely found it really funny. I mean, the lengths they go to jam the camera up people's skirts in this show just made me giggle. This one, however, some follow-up or prequel, Ica R16, this one's just gross. I don't like this one at all. This one's really bad. It's bad. The other two I thought were funny. This is just gross. That's my opinion anyway. So yeah, ecchi stuff does not by itself bother me. Some fun action in that too, in Agent Ica. I almost said Project Aiko. Another thing that I really quite like. So am I going to go search down the new Ghostbusters Plasma Series action figures? Probably won't buy them, but just to see what they look like, yeah. So people are giving a buff character in Last of Us 2 crap for being buff? Why? I mean, I suppose we all have our aesthetic preferences, but it's not a dating sim so far as I know. So There's a woman in this game who does not meet my personal attractiveness standards and I don't want to bang her. How dare you, Naughty Dog? How dare you present a female character that I don't want to bang? Why do you think I play these games? I don't know, you played as Joel throughout the entire last game. Well, except for the sequence where you play Ellie, when she was 14. You sicko. Alright, well, there's more. There's more to it, but I don't want to spoil it. Oh, the Last of Us 2? Yeah. So I, just for a joke on Twitter, wrote down, what I assumed the story for The Last of Us 2 is. So here we go with my Last of Us 2 predictions, which are based entirely on the trailers and cutscenes that it is Naughty Dog, right? Yeah, I think, right? Yeah, Naughty Dog. That Naughty Dog has presented. So it's all the official promotional stuff. I've not watched a walkthrough. I've not watched a playthrough. I've not played the game. So if I accidentally get something right here, it is completely accident, and it's almost certainly not right. But this is what I jokingly wrote on Twitter earlier in this week. Alright, Last of Us Part 2 predictions. Ellie and her town get attacked. Ellie and her girlfriend go kill the bad guys. Ellie learns that Joel lied to her at the end of the last game. So Ellie leaves her girlfriend for dead, kills Joel, and takes over the town. And then you switch to play as Ellie's girlfriend, and you have to go back to the town and take down Ellie. And it turns out that the bad guys that attacked the town in the first place are the ones that Joel slaughtered at the end of the last game to save Ellie. And they're really pissed off about the slaughter, but also, the whole dooming humanity thing. So the initial attack on the town, that was targeting Joel. Anyway, so after killing Ellie, Ellie's girlfriend adopts a dog, and in a post-credit scene, the dog shows evidence of the fungal virus, and a subtitle pops up, or a title card. It has evolved, ... And that leads us into Last of Us 3, where we have to deal with fungal dogs. And fungal deer, and fungal cats and bears and all kinds of fun stuff. It's going to be great. That's my Last of Us 2 predictions, and in a year or two when I actually play the game, we'll see how close I was. So, Nicholas says, many times people with bad takes get a lot of attention. That's true. But, hopefully their takes are a little deeper than I don't like women with athletically muscular physiques. Abby, unless they've changed her character model, is not a bodybuilder. She's just a really fit woman. She's, got well-defined abs and pretty thick shoulders and delts. And triceps. She looks great. At least according to my aesthetic sense, but, the game is actually The Godfather compared to my predictions. Oh, Jesus, I should hope so. Because my predictions are terrible. But, I could see that being a game. Was it the Fireflies? Is that what the group was? They're like, we're going to kill Joel because he killed a bunch of our people. We're trying to save the world. Joel was selfish, killed a bunch of our friends, and doomed humanity, so we're going to kill him. So they storm the town, they completely screw it up, and don't kill Joel. So Ellie and her girlfriend go on an adventure to take down the bad guys, which is led by Abby. And so then they finally track down the bad guys, and they get into a big fight, and Abby, her girlfriend is hurt, and I don't remember the girlfriend's name. It's like Dana or something, right? And so she's hurt, and Abby's like on her knees, and Ellie's about to kill her, and that's when she finds out that Joel lied to her. And instead of taking care of her girlfriend, she gets real pissed off, and she storms back to base or town, kills Joel, takes over the town, rules it with an iron fist, and then the game completely pulls a Metal Gear Solid 2 Raiden thing. Or well, I mean, hell, the first game you played as Ellie for one chapter, so wouldn't be completely out of the blue. You play as Dana. Is the girlfriend's name Dana? The girlfriend and Abby's her new partner. You know, like Ellie is Joel's partner and Dana was Ellie's partner throughout the front of the game. Now Abby's your partner as girlfriend, and you got to go and you got to kill Ellie, and then you adopt a dog because there are dogs in this game. And I'd feel better if you adopted a dog at the end instead of, you know, strangling all of them or stabbing them or whatever. So, Jordan says the game is only 0.0001% better in comparison, which means that I'm very good at making up stupid stuff. So, anyway, that's it for the show tonight. I appreciate everyone hanging out, and hey, we actually got through some podcast topics tonight. That's great. And So, tomorrow, new game stream, we're going to play One Night Stand. And we're going to play One Night Stand only because it allowed me to make a very silly social media post about one night stands. So, that's why. I have no... it's a point-and-click adventure game or a visual novel, or... I'm actually not sure, but... I guess we'll find out tomorrow. That's the beauty about one-night stands. That's the terrifying thing about one-night stands. You never really know what you're getting into. You don't know if you're going to regret it afterwards either. But we're going to find out together. And then we're probably going to hold it against each other for the rest of our lives. So, join me tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time, won't you? Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.